Hey guys, today I'm going to show you how to use atmospheric perspective when painting a landscape. So atmospheric perspective is the way a painter can make a flat painting look like it's going back in space just by using its color. And it's most of the time used in landscapes, hence the name atmospheric perspective. So you'll see it like in this painting, for instance, done by Albert Bierstadt, and you notice how on the top the colors are very bright and dark, and this is also the same story here in the foreground. On the bottom, the colors are also bright and dark, but when you start to get to the middle ground or even the far background, the colors tend to get a lot lighter and duller. And you can see that again in this awesome painting by Thomas Chambers. And what happens here, again, in the foreground, it's like a really bright, pure color, but it's also really dark. But as we go into the background, it gets lighter and duller. You can see that really well in the sky here, how we have the really bright, dark sky. But as it gets further back, it gets lighter and duller. And you should see this in most landscape paintings, unless they're done in a different style. But in most landscape paintings, you will see this. So that's what we're going to work on today. First off, you're going to need your Bristol board, as usual, and a palette that's set up with a complementary color scheme. So I have my white and my black, and then I wanted to have blue and orange. So of course I had to have yellow and red in my palette so that I could mix the orange. So black and white, as usual, and then my blue, and then its opposite color, orange. And then of course, paintbrushes, water, and paper towel. Let's get started. Okay, for the purposes of this demo, I took my Bristol board and I taped it to this backing and put it on an easel just so you can see what I'm doing. You do not need to tape anything down or anything. Just need your Bristol board, your paint, your water, your brushes, and you're in good shape. Okay, so just follow along. So the very first thing I want to do, I just want to paint the sky. And I've decided, yeah, I'm using the complementary color scheme of blue and orange, but why should I have the sky be blue? I don't want the sky to be blue. I want it to be a sunset, so I'm going to start with orange, and orange is going to be my sky. So what you do is you just take your pure orange, or whatever color you're starting with, and you just make a stripe on the top using your largest flat brush. And this is the start of my sky. If you're finding that your paint isn't showing up as opaque as you like, you can always just add like a little tiny dab of white, and that will take care of that problem. But this seems to be doing okay. Okay, next, now we want this to start receding into the background, so we want it to get a little duller and a little lighter. So next, we just take our orange, still our orange, okay, and we mix a tiny, insignificant amount of white in there, okay, so that it's barely really changed. It's still orange, but it's just slightly lighter. And just the smallest little dab, look at that, just a little corner of black. And we put our next little level. And you'll see already it's starting to go into the background. So what we're really doing here is we're adding gray. So if you'd like, you can take your white, put that somewhere, okay? And then just add a little bit of black to it, because remember we go dark into light. And then we have our gray And we don't have to do that again. Just add your gray. Okay. So we have our gray. Okay, so we're already starting to go back a little bit. So what do you think we do next? Take our orange, add some gray, and that's the next level down. Already getting lighter yet. Then we take this color that we already mixed, okay? Add more gray. So it's starting to get really, really light. It's almost not even orange anymore. Down some more. Now I want this to start getting even lighter, so now I'm going to add more white to my gray. And add this new lighter gray to my already mixed color. And if you're using enough paint, you can just layer on, no problem. So we go to the next level down. And then I add more gray. Gray, 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 gray. If you want it a little lighter, you can just add some white.
Hannah Smith, come to the front office, please. Hannah Smith, come to the front office.
And then I just want to add white. So all you're doing is you're just making it duller and lighter, and so if it's not the lightness that you want it to be, you just add white. But you always add gray, but if you want it to be even lighter yet, you just add white on top of that. And there we go. Now we kind of have like a really hazy, polluted kind of look for the background. And next, you want to blend it, because our paint should still be a little wet. So you just get your brush wet, has no paint on it, it's just wet, and you just blend it a little bit. Just wet on wet. Now acrylic paint dries incredibly fast, so sometimes this doesn't work, but you know, you're still getting the desired effect of this guy going back. Now we're going to do the ground. And since this is a complementary color scheme, mine's going to be blue. And I've noticed I ran out of gray. See, there's not a lot of gray in there. So I'm going to add some more. And so you put some white in there and a little bit of black, because remember, dark into light. Mix her up until you have a nice medium gray. You don't want it, you want it to be pretty light. You don't want it to be like very close to black at all. You want it to be closer to white. So see, this is my gray. It's pretty light. Okay? And I don't need to do anything to the blue, because the blue's already blue. And because I just want to be able to mix a little easier, because I've been mixing in the middle well, I want to get rid of my orange that I just did. I'm just going to wipe it out. But you can just go into a different like ball here. But for the purposes of this demo, I'm just going to do this. Alright, so I have my gray now. And my middle well is pretty much just clean and good to go. So now I just add blue to the middle. I'm going to use a lot of it. And for the very first stripe, which is in the foreground, which means it's the closest to us, I'm just going to use good pure blue and just put it on there. Remember, if it's not coming out as opaque as you'd like it, just add a tiny bit of white and that'll take care of that. Okay? And just like before, we want this to start getting duller and lighter. So I'm just going to add a tiny bit of gray, because this is the very first stripe. A little bit of gray. Mix that in with the blue. And now it's a little lighter and a little duller. And I add my second stripe. And we're already starting to recede into the background a little bit. Okay, next stripe, add more gray. Just a little bit more, like the same amount as before. Mix it up. See how light that's getting? Look at that. Just moving on back. And you keep doing this until you get to the very end. Remember, if it's not going as light as you'd like it, you can just add a little bit more white to your gray. Or you can just keep adding gray. No problem whatsoever. Now that we got it completely filled, remember now you need to get your brush good and wet. Remember it's clean, it has no more blue on it or whatever color you're using. Get it wet and then blend these colors together. Okay, and now we're really starting to recede into the background. So this is the horizon, this is the sky, and we can pretend this is the ocean, why not? Or maybe it's just that time of day and everything just looks a little blue. Now comes the real test. You can add clouds in the sky. Just remember the ones that are closer are going to be brighter and darker, and the ones further away will be lighter and duller. If I'm adding, let's say, bushes or trees or boats, ducks, anything like that, if they're in the foreground, they're brighter and darker. In the background, lighter and duller. So let's give that a go. So I'm just going to put some clouds in the sky to start out. And clouds are pretty light anyway, so since this is orange, it's monochromatic up here, monochromatic orange, monochromatic blue. I'll just start with a really, really light orange to start out with. So I'll just mix that real quick. Remember the light into the dark. So a tiny bit of orange and a lot of white. So nice light orange happening here. And since I want it to be really close, I'm not going to do anything to it. I'm just going to leave it as it is. And I'm going to put my cloud in the sky. Make sure you're using the correct kind of brush. A flat one is probably not a good idea for this one. It's probably a better idea to use like your larger bright brush. Okay, so I have one cloud, and now I want to go back in the foreground. Well, back into the background. And so you take the same color, and again, you just add your gray from before. So get this nice and grayed out. And with your bright brush. And since it is like a little further back, I'm going to make it smaller too. And see how that works? Same type of cloud, but further away. And you can add more details to this. I mean, this guy, we want him to stand out a little better. So what if I have... What if I mix just a slightly darker orange? So I have the light orange from before and just add a little bit more orange to it. And I can add just like little details that make it look more cloud-like. Maybe more orange still. That's up to you. What if I want to add mountains? same story as before. The mountains are in the foreground because they're on the ground, so they're going to be blue. Okay? And the closest one is going to be the brightest. And I know this seems like you probably want to start with this same color as the background, but you know, they're mountains. They're a little different. So you'd actually start with this color. So for my closest mountain, just off on the horizon, I just start with blue. And I'm not getting very opaque here at all. And lucky for you guys, acrylic paint dries super fast, so layering, not really a problem. So this is my closest mountain. And maybe I want one that's about the same distance away, like right here. And I expect you guys to be a little bit more careful when doing this than I am, but for the purposes of this demo, I just want us to get through it. Okay, so I have that mountain. Now the next mountain is more in the background. So I take my blue, and somewhere I just add some gray. Just like before. Now I'm starting to go into the background a little bit more. And the next mountain, even more so. That one's way back there. Way, way, way back there. And then if you like, you can add little snow caps. Same story as before. The closer mountains are just going to be blue with white. So you'll take your white, well, your blue, and you'll add it to some white. And we want it to be super light because it's snow. Just pure blue with white. You can add little snow caps if you want. And this same mountain back here, you take this same color that you put right here, but you add a little bit of gray. So you're starting to get this? Now he has his snow caps. And then him, he's super, super light. Take this same color, add more gray. Now they have snow caps. And that's all there is to it. For the rest of the class, I want you to add your own little landmarks. They can be animals, bushes, trees, streams, lakes. Just remember, the stuff that's closer, you start with a pure color. If it's in the foreground, a pure blue. And if you want to start, if it's in the sky, you start with a pure orange. And then as you go further into the background, you just add more and more gray until it's just a very light, dull color. And that's atmospheric perspective.